In today's hyper-connected world, many of us find ourselves constantly preoccupied with others' opinions. Social media, cultural expectations, and the relentless comparison game fuel an ongoing cycle of self-doubt and anxiety. Every scroll through our feeds reminds us of curated perfection, leaving little room for the messy, beautiful reality of our own lives. The more we compare ourselves to others, the more we feel pressured to conform to an ideal that may not even reflect who we truly are. Every like triggers a dopamine release in our brain, creating an addictive loop of posting, anticipating, receiving likes, and feeling pleasure. Over time, this reliance on external validation can erode our intrinsic motivation, much like depending on caffeine for energy eventually depletes our reserves. As a result, we start to place undue importance on what others think, making us increasingly dependent on their approval for our self-worth. This cycle not only skews our self-esteem, but also undermines our ability to pursue passions and goals driven by our own inner values. In essence, the more we lean on external feedback, the more we risk losing touch with our authentic selves and the internal drive that fuels personal growth and fulfillment. Take, for instance, the moment you step out in an outfit you're not entirely happy with. As you walk down the street, a nagging thought lingers in your mind. What if everyone is scrutinizing your choice, silently judging and thinking it looks bad? This is the spotlight effect in action, a cognitive bias where we overestimate the extent to which others notice our flaws. In reality, most people are too absorbed in their own lives to pay much attention to what you're wearing. Yet, this skewed perception can lead to heightened self-consciousness and anxiety, making you feel undeserving of confidence or even prompting you to hide behind self-imposed limitations. This pressure doesn't just stop at clothing or appearances, it seeps into every corner of our lives, coloring our interactions and decisions. Imagine you have a crush you're thinking about asking out, but a voice in the back of your mind warns you not to proceed. You worry that if people learn of your attempt, they'd mock you for facing rejection. It's a paralyzing fear, a fear that stifles the possibility of growth and meaningful connections. Taking a moment to breathe and reflect, it's important to remember that fear of rejection is a natural human response. However, if you let it dictate your actions, it confines your world, shrinking your opportunities and silencing the voice of your true self. When you value courage, every step you take, no matter how small, becomes a victory. Imagine gathering all your inner strength and simply asking that person out, regardless of the uncertain outcome. Whether it leads to a date or not, the act itself is a powerful testament to living authentically. It signifies a commitment to your personal values rather than surrendering to external judgments. In embracing such bravery, you cultivate self-respect and earn the satisfaction that comes from pursuing what truly matters to you. Consider another scenario. You fumbled through a brief presentation at work or in class. Perhaps you misspoke a word or gave an incorrect answer. In an instant, your mind spirals into a torrent of negative thoughts. They must think I'm an idiot. This mental avalanche is all too common. We often tie our self-worth to flawless performance, as if a single error renders us unworthy, as if our imperfections must be hidden from the world. Such thoughts are not only harsh, but entirely unnecessary. What if, instead of measuring yourself by the standard of perfection, you assessed your efforts by the authenticity and honesty of your performance? If you value growth, then mistakes aren't failures. They are signposts on the path of learning. Each misstep is an opportunity to improve, to gain insight into your strengths and weaknesses. When your values guide your actions, you no longer need to be haunted by the fear of imperfection. Instead, you can embrace your flaws, acknowledging them as part of the human experience without the added weight of shame. Our culture's fixation on perfection is reinforced by an environment that constantly highlights success stories while often concealing the struggles and failures behind them. Social media platforms, for example, showcase a never-ending stream of successes and happy moments. But these platforms rarely capture the hard work, setbacks, and vulnerabilities that precede these snapshots of triumph. When we compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, it's no wonder we feel inadequate. We begin to believe that a single mistake or a moment of weakness defines us, when in truth, these are simply part of the journey toward growth and self-improvement. In reorienting our perspective, it's essential to cultivate a mindset that values authenticity over perfection. This shift starts with acknowledging that everyone experiences setbacks and that failure is not the end, but rather a stepping stone towards success. By embracing the idea that our worth is not contingent upon flawless performance, we open ourselves up to a richer, more fulfilling life. We learn that true success lies not in avoiding mistakes, but in how we respond to them, with resilience, learning, and the courage to keep moving forward. These struggles aren't new. Jean-Paul Sartre famously declared, "Hell is other people," a line that encapsulates the existential struggle of defining oneself under the weight of external judgment. In Sartre's philosophy, we are often caught in the dynamic of being for others, where our identity is shaped not by our own choices, but by the expectations, evaluations, and definitions imposed upon us by those around us. This external gaze can feel like a prison, restricting our freedom and authentic expression. However, Sartre also emphasizes that we are condemned to be free, meaning that while we may be influenced by others, the ultimate responsibility for defining our existence lies with us. To fight for your own dominance and reclaim your subjectivity, you must actively resist the tendency to let others dictate who you are. Here are some ways to assert that personal agency, drawing from Sartre's existential ideas. Embrace radical freedom. Recognize that your freedom is absolute, despite the pressures and judgments of others. Every decision you make is an exercise of your freedom, and it is through these choices that you define your essence. By embracing your freedom, you assert that you are the author of your own life, not a mere reflection of external opinions. Acknowledge the role of others, but don't let them define you. Understand that while others' perceptions are inevitable, they do not hold the ultimate power over your identity. Use their opinions as one of many inputs, but never as the sole criteria for self-worth. Remember that you have the power to reinterpret or even dismiss these external views in favor of your own vision of who you want to be. By prioritizing your own values and self-approval, you create a life that is anchored in inner strength rather than external validation. It's about recognizing that the opinions of strangers hold little weight compared to the quiet certainty of knowing who you are and what you stand for. Instead of being paralyzed by the thought of potential rejection or criticism, you can channel your energy into living a life that reflects your true self. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be universally approved. You only need to be real. Because at the end of the day, the loudest voice guiding your life should be your own. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear this too.